Here's the thing about the end of the interview. Most people completely miss the point. Until you've got a job offer in your hands, then everything that you do in the interview process, and particularly the questions that you ask at the end, should serve one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to get you invited to the next stage of the interview or to land a job offer. It isn't the time to be asking questions to satisfy your own curiosity. Really, what you actually need to be doing is asking questions that differentiate you from the competition and increase the likelihood of you progressing in the process. But what actually makes a great question, and how can you avoid all of the common mistakes that seem to trip up other candidates? Well, I'm going to share with you my 3-step framework that will help you craft a question in any situation that will differentiate you from the competition and leave a lasting impact. So hang around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have the confidence to craft a question in any scenario and help move you one step closer to getting that job offer. In the thousands of interview panels that I've sat on or observed, candidates tend to do one of 3 things when they're asked, what questions have you got for us? The first thing they do is ask nothing. Yep, true story. In fact, they'll say things like, no, I think we covered everything. Or even worse still, I did have some questions, but I've forgotten them. This is like leaving points on the table, and in fact, it's signaling to them that maybe you didn't prepare that much, or perhaps you're not that interested in the role, and I'm sure that's not the impression that you want to leave. Be honest, have you said this before? If you have, drop me in the comments. I certainly have, so no judgment. The second thing that candidates ask are really generic questions. So things like, what's the focus of the role? Can you tell me what a day in the role looks like? What are the priorities? What's the culture like here? What's your leadership style, right? But let's step back for a moment. Why do panels even ask this question? To be honest, I actually think that a lot of them don't even know. I think often it's out of politeness. You know, they've just spent about 45 minutes interrogating you, so they should at least give you a couple of minutes to ask some questions back. They also want to create some meaningful connection, particularly if you're their preferred candidate. It's not just about whether you can do the job, it's also about how you're going to fit within the team more broadly. And this brings me to a really critical point. We're usually interviewing between 5 and 6 people, and it's often very clear who the top 2 to 3 candidates are at the end of the day of interviews. Panels are often split on exactly who is 1, 2, or 3 in their preferences. And so this is your chance to help solidify your position and in the minds of the panel overall. So how do you actually craft these questions? Well, that's what we're going to cover next. Your ultimate goal here is about how you position yourself as the solution to the company's challenges. And it isn't just about showing off your knowledge, it's about framing you as the obvious choice for the role. Think about it. Every company has problems to solve, whether it is navigating industry changes, achieving ambitious goals, navigating internal challenges. The right question can show them that you're already thinking about and anticipating what you need to address in the role. And this is where my 3-step framework comes in. First, your question should reinforce why you're right for the role. It should showcase your unique perspectives, your insights, the preparation that you've undertaken, your unique perspectives and skills. For example, you might say, I noticed in the annual report that client retention is a key challenge. Can you tell me how the team are approaching this today? Next, the perfect question should make the panel stop and think. It shouldn't be something easy for them to answer. It should make them sit back in their seat and ponder deeply what you've said and then open up a discussion. It positions you strategically by showing that you're focused on the big issues. Building on that same question, you could say, I noticed in the annual report that retaining key clients is a priority. One challenge I've seen in the industry is balancing personalization with scalable systems, particularly as AI and automation continues to evolve. How has the team approached maintaining human connection at scale, and what opportunities do you see? Now we're getting closer, it's slightly more thought-provoking, but there's one level to go, which is helping the panel visualize you in the role, performing the role. And this is where the scales start to tip in your favor. So taking it one step further, we could say, in my last role, I led a project which increased client retention by 15% through insert strategy. But I'm not in the team, and so I'm not sure if this is a current priority for you, or perhaps there's something else that's a greater priority. But I'm interested if you could unpack that for me and help me understand how I, in this role, could help you address that challenge over the next 6 months. There's research to back this up. Studies in behavioral economics show us that when we get people to visualize an outcome tied to solving their problem, they're more likely to favor you as the solution. Speaking of visualizing, I'm imagining you hitting that like button. Let's make it happen. Now that we've covered how how to position you as the solution, I want to talk about a topic that could completely derail your chances and why you should avoid it at all cost. Let's talk about salary. Here's why bringing up salary too quickly can hurt you. It distracts from the priorities and the value that you're going to bring to the role. Instead of thinking about your fit and the value that you bring to the role, the panel starts instead thinking about compensation. And that's not where you want their attention. It also potentially creates doubt about your priorities. Are you truly invested in the opportunity, or are you just chasing the highest offer? Now, don't get me wrong, asking about salary is really important, and you shouldn't be wasting your time interviewing for things that are just not going to pay you what you're worth. But I want you to be really careful, because if you're forced into discussing salary at this point, one of three things can happen. First, you might price yourself out of the conversation completely. If your number is much higher than what they're looking at, then they may just move on and not come back and consider you at all. Second, you could underprice yourself. So if your number is too low and you are the preferred candidate, then you may be doing yourself out of valuable dollars that should be coming your way. And lastly, talking about salary too soon can signal that you're only focused on money and you're not that interested in the opportunity or the organization. So what do you do if the panel asks you what your salary expectations are? You deflect it, but with confidence and professionalism. Here's one way you can handle it. Well, I'm still learning about the role, but to be honest, after this conversation today, I'm even more interested in the opportunity. So if you were to make an offer, I'd absolutely consider it. But if the deflect doesn't work and you are forced into discussing, give them a range. Don't give them an actual number. But if you're interested in understanding more about how to negotiate salary or handle questions related to salary, then comment the word salary below and I will do a video specifically on that topic for you, because there's a lot to get into and that's not why we're here today. My last thought on this topic though is that the right time to be discussing salary is after you've shown your value. It's not in the interview room where the panel has the control. It's outside of the interview room where you have more control. Ideally it's with HR. Ideally it's in a separate conversation where you can think strategically about how you want to position your negotiation and what you're going to say. At the end of the day, your focus in this interview is about showcasing why you're the right choice for this role, why you're the perfect fit, and why they should hire you or progress you over other candidates. But let's be honest, not every interview goes according to plan, and sometimes you are going to find yourself drawing a blank when they throw it to you for questions. That's normal, it's natural, it happens. So I want to give you two questions that you can always rely on as a safety net. The first is, what is one challenge that the team are excited to tackle over the next 6 months, and how could I in this role contribute to that? And the next is, what is one thing that you would like me to achieve in this role over the next 90 days? That's it. They're simple, but they're going to be helping the panel visualize you in the role, and that's our main goal. So to recap, a great question achieves 3 objectives. Number 1, it reinforces your fit. Number 2, it gets them thinking and then engaging you in a conversation. And number 3, it helps them visualize you in the role. Any question that you ask that achieves these objectives is a win in my book. There are many different ways that you could approach constructing these questions, thinking about pain points for the organization, challenges, opportunities that you see. The options are really endless as long as it achieves these 3 things. If your question ticks these boxes, then you're setting yourself apart. Now that you've nailed the end of the interview, why don't you make sure that you know how to make a strong start? I've got a video that breaks it all down for you, so why don't you check it out? Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, and if you found value from this video, then hit the subscribe button and I'll see you next time.